everyone, you're listening to the Hiring Talks podcast presented by Axterior, the professional recruitment platform. Here we talk about hiring, HR management, and everything related with outstanding leaders from different industries. Woohoo!
We're Anna and Sophia, and today our guest is Alyona, finance team lead from Waveup, an outstanding venture capital consulting agency.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Before our guest will tell us more about her company, I would like to make some intro to our topic for today. Alyona is a good friend of mine, and when we met for brunch a few weeks ago, she talked about her success in the company as a finance team lead, that she manages young and ambitious interns. And when I found out this, I knew that this would be a cool topic for the next podcast. So today we'll talk about hiring and training interns. Let's get it started.
Alyona, tell us please everything we need to know about Waveup and your position in the company.
Sure. So, Waveup is a global consulting company with a focus on the venture capital market. We provide a wide range of services from fundraising support, in simple words, preparing materials for investors, such as financial models, pitch decks, investment memorandums, to business strategy development, market entry and growth strategies, merger and acquisition opportunity scouting, and many others. On top of that, we have an in-house design team always ready to provide top-notch designs for our materials or the materials provided by our clients. As of today, our portfolio includes more than 600 projects with renowned clients around the world, such as Google, Bolt, Echo, Skechers, and many others. Actually, we work both with young startups and more mature companies. We also work with Tier 1 funds from Silicon Valley and startups from TechCrunch and Y Combinator. And last year, our team helped our clients to raise more than $350 million of investment across more than 60 industries, from blockchain gaming to e-learning and music labels. As for my experience in the company, I joined Waveup as a financial analyst intern around 3.5 years ago. It has been an exciting journey. And actually, there was a funny story because initially I was searching for a job in marketing.
We feel your pain.
Sounds interesting.
After several attempts, I accidentally came across a vacancy on Facebook. By the way, I was just scrolling my news feed at 2 a.m. I decided to apply right away because the description was quite interesting and it was mentioned that it's possible to apply without relevant experience if you're ready to learn quickly. After sending 2 test assignments, I managed to successfully miss the first email with the job interview invitation in my inbox. But finally, I had that job interview, which was far away from being perfect. Actually, when it was over, I came home and thought, I hope I won't meet these cool guys again after this embarrassment. But eventually, I got an offer to have 2 test weeks and then join Waveup as an intern. So I wasn't able to avoid this embarrassment. 4 months later, I became a junior analyst, and then a few months later, a senior analyst. For more than a year, I held the position of associate. And now, from the beginning of this year, I am a finance team lead, balancing between the project work and helping the team to optimize the pipeline, learn and develop, and, of course, raise new talents. I started teaching new interns back in 2020 when the team started to grow very quickly. Initially, there were only 6 of us in the team, and now we are the team of 26 people. We've had several internships over the last 3 years and tried to improve the overall process every time. So today I would be happy to share the insights we got from our experience, successful stories, and of course, mistakes.
Yeah, such a cool, such an exciting career path. And the most interesting is that you will tell us your experience not only as the manager of interns, but the former intern as well.
Yes.
So let's move to the internship, actually. I think that hiring interns might be quite risky due to the lack of experience and skills compared to the candidates with some professional background. Don't you think so?
Yeah, and on the other hand, if you hire an intern and you made the right decision, this person will stay with the company for a long time, especially when a company is able to provide opportunities for their professional development.
Maybe everything depends on the company goals, like growing a new team member, or searching for talent, or searching for temporary help with some tasks, etc. Alyona, can you tell us about your company general approach for hiring interns? Why did the company decide to start the internship program? Maybe you can tell us the story behind it.
Sure. In our case, most often it's the need to grow a new team member. And at some point of time, we understood that it's a very good option for us because, as you just mentioned, the reason for hiring interns really depends on the company's current goals. But we should also consider some other factors, for example, the niche we work in, the services we provide, the geography for hiring, etc. The niche of venture capital is quite specific. To work in Waveup, you must be able to explain how to work with different types of investors, how to work with different verticals, different regions. And when looking for candidates, we see a lot of talented and skilled financial analysts or business consultants, but not all of them have the experience we need. Venture capital ecosystem is still developing in Ukraine, and not many professionals have the exposure to venture capital and startup that we need. On top of that, some services that we provide require particular expertise. That's why we understood that sometimes it's easier and more efficient just to find young talents and turn them into team members. Actually, we tried different options, hiring an intern to help with some routine tasks, creating an educational program for talented graduates. It was our charity project that we launched a year ago. But eventually we understood that to turn interns into team members, you need to not only to provide an educational part, but also let the interns to be a part of the overall workflow. You need to make them a part of the process, let them have some responsibilities and feel themselves as a part of the team. Otherwise, they just treat internship like a next educational course, and that's all.
And when do you understand that you need interns, and what goals do you pursue?
Two key indicators are our pipeline and growth strategy. 3 years ago, there were 6 of us, and at some point of time, the number of projects started to grow very quickly, and we realized that we didn't have enough hands for all the client requests, so we understood that we need and want to expand our team as quickly as possible, but at the same time, we need to do this efficiently. Over the past 2 years, we filled several senior positions, but also conducted several internships, which have helped us to find and grow some young talents. However, you need to remember that hiring an intern doesn't mean that you just get a team member who is ready to work at full capacity and deliver the quality and quantity of work you need right away. There should be some time for ramping up, fixing mistakes, and discussing the progress. So it's kind of a long-term story. It doesn't work when you need a senior member urgently or a person with some specific skills or expertise. But if you have time and capacity to teach a person from scratch, you can get a team member with the exact skills you need. Of course, there are always some risks involved because you can teach a person and he or she can just go to another place in a few months. It's quite a popular story among university graduates because these people just start their career path and try to understand what they actually want to do. But this is another story, the story about motivation and incentive the company can offer.
Yeah, this is a good point about work with interns. You need to understand that you will collaborate with the people that probably have no professional background. Yeah. And can you share some tips on how to create an ideal vacancy description that will attract applicants, in your case, interns, and maybe you have tested different approaches and find the best one for you?
Yes, we really tried different options to understand what description really works. And it seemed like it's quite an easy task to do. You just describe the key requirements and skills and experience needed for a particular position. However, it's not as easy as it looks sometimes, because you need not only to explain what the person will do, but also motivate them to apply and get interested in your company. At the same time, it shouldn't be boring and long, because nobody will read it till the end. So we need to consider these factors together. And you need to remember that your candidates most probably won't have much experience. So you need to outline the key skill, the key qualities you're searching for. Usually we start our vacancy description with several sentences about the company and some milestones we are proud of, for example, like the number of clients or the names of famous companies we have worked with. The information can be different and vary depending on the company, but the key point here is that you need to motivate the person to get interested in to apply for this job, actually. Another important part is the clear explanation of the requirements and key things the person will do at this position. And it may sound obvious, but you should be as clear as possible, because when you're searching for candidates for the internship, most probably it will be either university graduates or people that want to switch the niche they work in. So it needs to be understandable, and you also need to be honest here, because if you promise some cool creative work with some projects and then you give a person like a regular routine tasks, it's not really motivating. After this, we usually mention the key requirements and expectations for our candidates. Of course, in case of university graduates, you can't expect much, because most probably some of these people haven't worked yet, and it's important to outline the top priority skills, the bare minimum that will allow a person to be an intern, and also such organizational stuff as the ability to work full-time if you don't offer a part-time position. The more exact and correct requirements you set from the very beginning, the easier it will be to select the candidates in the end. And it's really important to set the right priorities and don't waste time on reviewing the applications of people who don't fit this position from the very beginning. For example, once we forgot to mention that it's only full-time job and many people applied, and then we had to filter all these applications and waste a lot of time just to have a short list with people who are ready to work full-time.
And what about test assignments? Do you use them for internship programs? And if yes, how do you prepare test tasks?
Yes, we use them, and in my opinion, it's one of the most important tools that you can use when searching for internship candidates, because these people don't have huge experience or a long list of hard skills or milestones they can be proud of, and most probably the majority of CVs will include similar information like studied here, participate there, ready to learn quickly, hardworking, stress resistant, etc., etc. So you need a kind of a filter to shortlist the best candidates.
Yeah, sounds so familiar.
Yeah, I love our test assignments because they're closely related to the work we do. It can be a small business case similar to our project, or some important theoretical questions, calculations. They allow us to see the knowledge of finance, the level of English, and most importantly, the way the person thinks. We understand that a lot of candidates didn't have some practical experience of or not have super relevant education. So we need to see the logic and the way the answer was provided and presented. Sometimes you can really find real diamonds this way, even if the person doesn't have relevant experience or education. So it's quite a useful tool to use.
Yeah, it seems quite challenging, and I understand that the primary goal of test task is evaluation of candidates and skills. So how to get the right balance and create the tasks that won't be too simple on one side and too complex on the other?
Yes, the test assignment is a really tricky thing because based on what I've seen, it can really scare some candidates, but at the same time, it can help us filter people who are not ready to invest their time and their effort and make an additional step and who are really motivated. So in case of interns, it's really hard to estimate their experience and skills. So the test assignment is a must, but I would say that you really need to find that balance. We experimented with the test assignments a lot. From what we've seen, I would say that too long and complicated test assignments really scare and demotivate people. And sometimes it may even look like we are trying to solve our real tasks with this assignment, like just for free.
Delegation for free.
Yeah. Otherwise, when you don't have a test assignment or it's too easy, the quality of your selection of candidates is quite low. So it's important to find this balance. Our piece of advice here is to leave the most important task or question that can really help you check the skills you are looking for. Other questions can be asked at the job interview if needed.
Yeah, I'm totally agree that the readiness of interns to work on the test task in this case serve as a filter that allows you to stay in touch with the most relevant candidates that are really interested in the vacancy.
Yeah, and I'd like to add, from the perspective of the former candidate or applicant for the job, I think that the simple test task is even better, not thanks to the simplicity, but to the fact that when you get a very difficult test task, you are so tired of doing this, you are angry that you will not be paid for this, and you work for a long time on marketing strategy for the next year, and you don't understand why you have to do this. And when you work on a simpler task, you have enough space to add some specifics, to add some details that you were not asked for. But in fact, in these details, you can show your expert skills more than in the difficult one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And could you share with us how do you source candidates for internship positions? Maybe you have some special tips and tricks for finding interns. Some collaboration with the university or case competitions in finance with the internship prize. I know that many companies have such practice.
When searching for candidates or for internship positions, first and foremost, you need to understand your target audience. In our case, we realized that it will include university graduate students getting their bachelor's and master's degree or young people starting their career path. After you define your target audience, you need to analyze where these people can potentially search for a job. In our case, we created a table and added here all the potential resources that can be used. And they included some Telegram channels for students, university social media, university websites, some student clubs, etc. We also used Facebook advertising, but I would say that Telegram channels and student groups were the most efficient resources in this case, because everyone starts sharing these publications to friends. So it's really a useful one. As for collaboration with university or case competitions with a prize, we have also considered this option, but haven't tried them yet. But I believe that they can be really efficient because it's a cool motivation for people to get some prize or to get a diploma that you participated in the case, or maybe just won something.
Typically there are much more applications on the internship programs, and the recruitment team and hiring managers need to manage them somehow. By the way, do you use any applicant tracking system or any other tool for tracking all the hiring processes?
As for software, actually, we don't use any particular application tracking software now for the hiring process. I believe that we will find the one.
I believe it too.
Yeah.
We have a great offer.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I think we should consider it definitely, because we experimented with this one. We had like some Excel tables, and it's not always very useful because like you need to understand how to build this table and how to make it useful for the hiring process. What we managed to do is to create a board using our project management tool Monday, but actually it's not like built for hiring process. So it was like our experiment. In our board, we can track the status for each candidate attached task assignment, leave some comments, some scores based on the interview or test assignment. When analyzing the test application, the first thing we need to do is to define like the top priority skills and quality we want to see in our potential team members. For example, in our work, it's important to have a solid knowledge of the basics of finance, good written and verbal level of English, accuracy, creativity, analytical skills. So when analyzing the test assignments, we prepare a scorecard where we add points or comments for each skill or quality. Then we can shortlist candidates using a minimal level for the total score. But it's more like a technical part of the story because not always the candidate with the highest score is the best one for this position. You need to pay attention to details, to the way the person delivers his or her message, the way they present their answers, the logic they can use, and I would say it can tell a lot. For example, if you see that it was difficult for a person just to Google a simple formula or to check the text for grammar, and it has a lot of mistakes, it's definitely no-go, and it's a real red flag that the person doesn't care much about the quality of work. Of course, soft skills and motivation are also really important. So you need to understand why the person has decided to apply for this job, what has attracted him or her, and whether it's a good team fit. But I think it's more relevant for the job interview.
Yeah, sometimes I think that Excel tables are the main competitors of Axterior, not other tools. So I think we will have a better option for you.
Yeah.
And maybe you have some key questions for job interviews with interns, some specific ones?
To be honest, I'm not a big fan of that traditional questions we usually hear at job interviews, like what has been your biggest accomplishment so far, what is your strongest or weakest side, are you stress resistant? In my experience, these questions just puzzle people and they don't show exactly whether this person is a good fit for the internship. Maybe they are good for some senior positions when a person really has some experience, a list of successful milestones, something to be proud of. But in this case, everyone just keeps saying yes, everything is fine, I'm hardworking, I am stress resistant, I'm ready for everything. In case of internship, as I mentioned before, these young people don't have any experience, so here you need to find something else to talk about. We usually start with a test assignment because it's really important. Here we need to make sure the test assignment was really done by this person. Sometimes we have additional questions. For example, if we see that overall the work is quite solid, but we see some mistakes, so we can ask some extra questions. Also, we usually check speaking skills because not always speaking is as good as writing, and it's important for us. Apart from the test assignments, I usually want to hear what motivated the person to apply, what he or she would like to do, and it's really important to understand because for us it's crucial to have a team that really loves what it does. Of course, every job gives you good days and bad days, and sometimes you just look at your job and you think, maybe I should give up, but it's amazing when you love what you do, even in hard times. So I always pay attention to this at the job interview. By the way, I also ask whether the candidate liked the test assignment and what difficulties they had. It's really insightful, actually. And the final part of the interview is usually an organizational one. The most important thing here is to align on expectations in terms of schedule, because very often our candidates still study at their universities and we need to make sure they have enough time for work.
And I have a short fun story about such regular questions from recruiters. Once an interviewer asked me about the recent challenging situation you had to solve. And the first situation I managed to recall was the hot discussion with my mom about my future. And I told my interviewer for like 10 minutes how I managed to give all the arguments to my mom about my future. And she was like a real psychologist, asked me, and what arguments did you bring? And what in detail she answered you? And I was like, oh my God, is it a psychologist session or I'm still at the interview?
Psychologist session for free.
Yeah, you can try it.
Yeah, I believe it was very compelling.
Yeah, I wasn't hired. And do you have a specific policy maybe regarding interns' requirements and responsibilities, or like schedule and work mode, something like that?
Yes, usually we discuss them right away in the job interview to avoid misunderstanding in the future. And if we hire people, they receive a personal page reminding all the requirements, rules, and expectations from our side. Based on our experience, we realize that part-time doesn't work here, but we understand that some people need to study, and it's okay if they can manage their time and can deliver their work on time. So everything can be discussed, and we try to align on all the details in the beginning.
And how do you evaluate the success of your internship program? Do you have some particular KPIs?
Yes. As for us, as for a company, the key indicator for success of the internship and the number of new team members we got and the quality of their work in the end of the internship. We always say that we are happy to offer a full-time position if we have capacity and if a person really brings value to the team. And as for the interns, they all receive a list of KPIs they need to show once the internship is over. We also have a performance assessment table with different criteria to assess the hard skills, soft skills, team and culture fields, some behavioral competencies. So every person understands what he or she should strive for, what result we expect. At the end of the internship, they need to be ready to deliver simple financial model or a simple pitch deck for our client. So some KPIs are measurable, some KPIs more related to behavioral competences. On top of that, we show our interns a career progression scheme showing how they can move up the career ladder. So as you see, we strive to align on everything in the beginning. And it's very important to make sure that our long-term plans also match. For example, the company has the capacity to take new people and the people have time for work even if they study.
Okay. And as I always mention, our podcast is always useful not only for the HR practitioners or some experts from this field, but for the people who are listening to the podcast and are willing to apply for the job, maybe even in Waveup. Maybe you can give some advice to someone interested in applying for an internship with your company?
Sure. I believe my pieces of advice will be very simple, but they are really helpful ones. The first one is to get prepared. You can explore our website to see what we do. And actually, it's an important point because I've seen the people who came to the job interview and I found out that they have no understanding what the company does, actually. And it's really strange because it looks like you're not really motivated to work here. You can find some previous vacancies to see our expectations, our requirements. You can reach out to ask what we really need, and maybe we can provide some materials for preparation, and it will help you to find your weak sides to work on and to prepare. And the second one, also very important, to believe in yourself and not to give up. If the first attempt wasn't successful, prepare and try again. Here I have a very, very motivational story, a real story, because one of our candidates has applied 4 times. She was working really hard on her mistakes. She was asking for the feedback, and now she's our junior analyst. She finally got this internship, successfully finished it, and got actually a full-time position. She does the cool stuff, and we are really proud of her, and actually of all our juniors who work really hard and grow every day. So remember that everything is possible. You just need to make small steps every day.
I think that these tips are so simple, but so useful, and so many candidates still fail to perform these few steps at the beginning of their application journey. So maybe regarding this, you have some fun stories about hiring an intern, or some mistakes you did?
Yeah, we have it's both a fun story and a mistake we made. The first one was, I believe, it's the funniest one, actually, when we added 15 or even more questions to the test assignment. It was huge. It had 2 or 3 different sections, and we expected not a short answer, but a big one with all the explanations. And we even wondered why we had only 10 candidates at the time. What a surprise. And it was one of our key mistakes. After this, we understood that we need to make the test assignment as simple as possible, because nobody will do it. And another one, hiring interns, not preparing any program for them. It was in the very beginning, 3 years ago, when we just started to invite people and have internships. It was really difficult to combine work and education when you don't have a clear roadmap. You should always have a plan, and maybe not a very detailed program, not super many materials for interns, but you need to understand what key steps will be involved and actually who will be educating all these people.
Quite thorough approach, and in fact, I like General Waveup's approach to the internship programs. Investing time, money, and efforts in interns can be quite beneficial. But otherwise, I think that many companies don't want to invest in internship programs. For example, when company management doesn't want a high employee turnover or cannot ensure a potential job offer after the internship, maybe you can give us some do's and don'ts of finding and hiring an intern. Does every company need to have internship programs?
I think not every company needs internships. So we need to understand first and foremost whether you really need it, and whether you have capacity for new team members, and you're ready to invest the time. In our case, as I mentioned before, at some point of time, we understood that we have no capacity for the new projects, and the projects are coming and coming and coming, and we needed to grow the team. So that's why we decided to do these internships. The next one, you need to understand that you need to have time for teaching and ramping up. Nobody will provide you perfect quality right away and the quantity of work you expect. So hiring an intern, it's kind of a long-term story where you need to invest a lot of effort, a lot of time, but then you will get a new team member, most probably, if everything will be fine, with the skills and qualities you need. You need to have people, one person or a team ready to teach interns and some materials for education program. Also, as I mentioned before, it shouldn't be very detailed. detailed if you don't have time, but you need to give something to people, and you need to have a clear framework you can use. Returning to our mistake when we hired 2 interns, and actually it was like a continuous improvisation, what to give them, what task, how to explain, how to combine with the projects, a bit difficult. And I think it's also not difficult for the company, but a bit demotivating for interns, because they come here and they expect that there should be some preparation for them, but they get only like some task in a very chaotic manner. You also need to know how you will motivate people, and that you are ready to provide some incentives. People need to understand what to strive for and why. And you need to have a clear system for evaluating progress, clear KPIs, different assessment schemes, so that people will understand how they will be evaluated.
Thank you very much that you shared such detailed tips with us and with our listeners. And I think that we discussed enough serious stuff. And we can move to one of our most favorite part of our Hiring Talks podcast. We ask all of our guests questions most candidates hate.
Wow.
And,
I'm excited.
Okay, we see that you are ready. So, if I were to ask your friends or former coworkers to describe you, what would they say?
I remember when I had a birthday, one teammate said that I'm a real team player, because I always care not only about work, but about people. And I still think it's really true, because for me, it's important that people are motivated and they love what they do. And now as a finance team lead, I'm trying not to forget to have these one-on-one calls and ask people how they feel. Maybe they have some difficulties. Maybe they have some suggestions for the team to change something. So, I'm a team player.
Okay, I suppose that Alyona really knows how to promote herself on the interviews. Okay, we have one more question for you. Do you work well under pressure?
This is a funny one. I think my bosses would like this question. I would say that sometimes I have no choice, because as we say, we work in a really dynamic environment. So yeah, it's a part of our job, working with clients. We work with startups who raise funds and communicate with investors. And usually how it looks like, they come to us and say, oh my God, I have tomorrow a meeting with the investor. I need to show something. Please help me. And yes, we are a dream team, always ready to help. Sometimes it can be a bit intensive. So I wouldn't say that I love working under pressure, but sometimes I find it like a very interesting adventure.
So sometimes you serve as an emergency service for your clients? Yes?
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool. You passed your interview.
We will call you.
And we have 2 questions from our followers on LinkedIn page. And guys, if you have some questions to our next guest, you can always leave some comments in our podcast announcements. So the first one is very tricky. Should the internship always be paid? What do you think?
Really a tricky one. I think sometimes it shouldn't be paid. I can say that I had such experience when I was a student. I had 2 internships. They weren't paid, but I was really motivated because I wanted to get some experience. Of course, it's a difficult question because some people really need a salary, and it's not a good fit for them. But overall, I think it's okay. I even had some candidates in Waveup who said that I'm okay with having a free internship. I just want to learn and study and get some practical expertise. So they were really motivated. But I think it's okay. But always, it's always great to have some motivation for people so they know what they work for, not only for some practical experience, but also money. Money is important. Always.
And what do you tell your candidates when they say they are okay with free internship and you have already had the budget for him or her?
As far as I remember, like we said, it's our policy, like we offer paid internship because we assume that the person will help with some real projects, and sometimes it can be really intensive. So it's like our way to say thank you for your time and your effort. We really appreciate our team. So it's our policy, but we not force anybody to take the salary.
Yeah, I like your policy. And the second question is, does the onboarding of an intern differ from an experienced specialist? And if yes, then how?
I think it differs slightly because overall, we treat everyone with respect, and we try to make this process as easy as possible and as comfortable as possible. We understand that when you get to the new team and everything is new, and you need time to understand what is going on actually in this company. But in case of interns, I think here you need to spend more time, to clearly explain how your workflow looks like, who is doing what are the key processes in the company, because we need to remember that these people actually most often don't have any practical experience. So here you need to spend more time for different explanations, for answering questions. Sometimes these questions may seem too obvious for us, but for these people, I remember myself being an intern, and first 3 months you're just trying to understand what you are doing, what this company is doing, who am I? What questions can I ask? And I really needed time to understand how to ask correct questions to get what I needed. So. In case of interns, more time for education, for explanations, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Alyona, thank you for the time you devoted to us, to this podcast, and we wish you the best of luck in your work. And as motto of the Axterior sounds, source smarter and hire faster.
And to all our guests, we will leave Alyona's LinkedIn and Waveup profile in the podcast description. And don't forget to like this podcast and set the notification to be the first to listen to the next episode. Thank you, Alyona.
Thank you. It was really interesting.